All right, greetings and salutations. This is another episode of Grand Rising Empowerment. And today we have two amazing guests, Dr. Darby and D. Greenlee. And today's episode, we're going to talk about the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. Welcome both of you onto the show.
Hello, hello.
Grand Rising, brother. Glad to be here. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you. Now, we decided to go with this subject because we've now, this is episode 11, I believe, and we've talked about a lot of things dealing with ancient Kemet. We're dealing with Ma'at, the principles of Ma'at, and we briefly talked on the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. And I just want to go back to that, and today's episode is going to be about that. Now, over my studies, it got kind of confusing. I saw 42 laws of Ma'at, 42 negative confessions of Ma'at, 42
principles.
I've heard various things it was called. So, Dr. Darby, the floor is yours. Help us decipher what is the proper way of looking at this and what it's all about.
Outstanding. Well, first and foremost, I want to just say that it's going to be the beginner's edition for real because of how deep it can actually go.
Absolutely.
I mean, one of the things that we have to always remember is that these things were done at a time when we are not doing the same things and practicing the same religions and spiritualities as we are today. However, they have laid the foundation for a lot of the things we do today. Just trying to put it in a nutshell, I know it's going to be some things that a 6-hour class will not be able to accomplish, but I'm going to do it in a nutshell the way I think we can get a basic understanding, and those that want to learn more can either contact us and we'll talk to them separately, or they can just look for themselves online, or there's so many different teachers out there now, and figure it out for themselves.
We want to encourage our listeners to go seek the information for themselves.
Absolutely.
Don't just take for face value what we say. We're just providing information to you.
Absolutely.
So you can go feed yourself and then therefore feed others.
I remember when I first began to look into these Kemetic studies, and I came across the 42 confessions, and I would say, why 42? And I like everything kind of broken down in the kindergarten level so anybody can understand it. And what you'll find is that 42 number represented the divine cosmic order, which connects us right back to Ma'at. When you're looking at that direct connection, it deals with the 42 assessors that were in charge of those regions in that different land. If you ever want to know what that means, anybody dealing with numerology know that ancient Kemet always deal with numbers, and they always had a meaning behind those numbers, okay? In ancient Kemet, a nome was represented by that number 42. In essence, there were 42 nomes, and they were an administrative province or territorial division that were over the whole area for most of their history. And what you'll find is you had two divided kingdoms. You had Upper Kemet, right? And they had 22 nomes. And then you had Lower Kemet, and they had 20 nomes. And together, they represented the 42. And that would be up south instead of like down we do here. And those 22 in those divisions were governed by officials called nomarchs. In addition to the number 42, they held an important spiritual significance as it corresponded to the 42 judges the deceased would face in what they call the Hall of Ma'at during the weighing of the heart. Now, we spoke about that, right?
That's right.
When we dealt with the Ma'at. We spoke about the weighing of Ma'at is what they did when they stood next to Ampu, as their heart would have to be light as that feather, or at least lighter than that, in order for them to deal with what happened in the afterlife. So let's try to straighten out a couple of things before we get into the meat of this. Then you may have seen 42 negative confessions, then 42 laws, or 42 principles. What is the difference between all of these different things? The 42 negative confessions were also known as the declarations of innocence. And this is the most historically accurate term. And that's found in the book of the coming forth by day and by night, or what they would call the Pert Him Haru. Some call it the book of the dead. It's not a bad term, but I don't like using that. Okay. And when they saw these statements in there, this is what the statements would be made by the deceased soul, that they had to recite these 42 to the 42 divine judges in the afterlife, testifying that they had not committed certain sins during their lifetime. If you ever read that book of Coming Forth by Day and by Night, what you'll find is that it is a very large book, and it had many confessions within that book. And a lot of the confessions that they had dealt with daily life, but it's all done in the afterlife. So they generally dealt with what happens after we transition. In contrast, the 42 principles of Ma'at represented a new age Kemetic spiritual adaptation. So instead of stating what you did not do in past tense, they declared, I have not, which made it present tense. And their statements were rephrased into like positive affirmations, and they had to deal with daily living. Does that make sense?
Got it. Got it.
Okay. So we're going to get into the importance of that in a little bit, but they made it a little bit more modern. Okay. And it made more sense, because if you're still among the living, saying did not put you in the past, but saying I have not made it present. Does that make sense? So we're going to deal with the misnomer right now, which brings us to the 42 laws of Ma'at. Now, this is a more popular modern misnomer first, because they were said to be strict prohibited rules that were like commandments handed down by a god or a sky god. But the truth is, they function as an ancient ethical code for the people to live by. So when people refer to them as laws, they emphasize the universal need to maintain balance, truth, and cosmic order, in essence, Ma'at. What you'll find here is that in ancient Kemet, they really did not have gods. They dealt more with deities, and these deities had figures that represented certain principles, as opposed to the Bible God, which is literal, and an angel in Bible, which would be literal. These were not like actual people walking around with human bodies and animal heads. This is what the people came up with to use as a representation of the principle that it bears, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'll say that because I hear a lot of the Kemetic teachers saying that, no, these were real people, alligator head, lion body, right? Ampu with the jackal head, and a human body standing, the Sphinx with the head of the Egyptian and the lion's body. No, these were principles that represented particular deities that were mythical. And that's the main difference between this Bible, okay, and their gods and the deities in ancient Kemet.
The writing of the Declaration of Independence was kind of inspired, pretty much was inspired by the principles of Ma'at. So with that being said, do you think there is an oxymoron between that? Because when you look at the Declaration of Independence, it's like everyone is treated equal, unalienable rights of life, pursuit of happiness, and things of that nature. Do you think there's an oxymoron when you look at that present day?
I do, because they've done what they've always done. So anytime you have a people that have captive another people, they're not going to rest until all the ones they captive conform to their mindset and ideologies. Now, let's say they took captive of a people, and those people had some good principles, some good inventions, right? Some good codes and ethics. What they'll do is they'll take over those and then claim themselves as the inventor of those and then totally erase the original one of those. This is why it's so hard to find any truth in history. But anytime you see a color blue and it's still blue and it's still blue, you can't change that. Because if that's the color, that's the color. So yeah, they can tell you one thing, and they have done that. They've done it in our education system, which is where it starts, right? Send you to school, get you young, first grade, second grade, third grade. And by the time you're like in 12th grade, this is the truth now. This lie is now this truth, and they become the beneficent of that. So you're absolutely right. I do see that as such, and I know it happened 100%. Especially with the Native American in the Kemet. I'm glad you brought that up because I always like to go back to the origin. Somebody tells me something that's supposed to be true. I look at the author and I'm like, where did they get it? Then I find out, okay, let's go back further. Okay, where did they get it? Then I go back, let's go back further. Same thing we did with the Ethiopian church when they tried to say that Christianity was in Africa, came out of Africa first before it was in kingdom in England. But no, if you go back and back and back, you'll see a man named Fermentus. All right, Fermentius. And you'll see how Christianity started with King Ask in Ethiopia, which what he did, he just adopted some of those teachings. Now, all of a sudden, they got Christianity coming out of Africa. Well, we know that can't be, right?
Right.
So that's a good point. You want to add something to that?
Yeah. When I was reading and trying to understand the Bible, they always talked about Moses.
Mm-hmm.
And now I cannot separate the idea. She found Moses in a basket
Mm-hmm.
going down the Nile River,
Yep.
pulled over, was raised in Egyptian.
Yep. Learned all the ways.
All the ways as a child, infant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always used to say, how can Moses come up with the 10 commandments and not know the 42 laws? That was something that was a principle. You had to know the ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It just never made connection for me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That was the biblical God giving him those 10 commandments.
No, that was Charleston Heston.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
That did a lot. Visual.
Right. Visually.
Yeah.
So that just always
because we've all been indoctrinated when you look at it.
That's right. That's right.
We've been indoctrinated.
So logically speaking, why would Moses not know about the 42 laws?
Right.
If we dissecting this whole journey in the Bible.
Right.
And the other thing I was thinking about was the code of ethics.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you being military brothers.
Yeah.
The one thing they ingrained in us and later,
mm-hmm.
after you served, they brought in what was known as the Soldier's Creed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, for you and I,
mm-hmm.
it was the NCO Creed.
Mm-hmm.
No one is more professional than I. I'm a non-commissioned officer, a leader of soldiers. As a non-commissioned officer, I'm a member of the Time Honor Corps, which is known as the backbone of the Army. I'm proud of the Corps non-commissioned officers and will at all times conduct myself so as to bring credit upon the Corps, my military service, and my country.
Yeah.
I can go on and on and on about that. But it's something ingrained in us and taught us how to be a leader.
Yes. Yeah.
This is doing the same thing for our spiritual growth. Mm-hmm. And I just want to share that with the listening audience and for those that serve. You understand what that code did once you made that transition into being a leader, a non-commissioned officer, and what it upheld and what it signified. And you try to live up to those core ethical conducts the best of your abilities.
Yeah, both of you made some good points. So her connection with the Declaration of Independence, and then you as this code of ethics that's sort of innate. And when you put all that together, what you find out is that there's always a pattern that precedes humanity, and a group of people, men and women, will adapt it. But then once they're adapted, there's another group that wants to come in and take it. And you're going to find this throughout history. This is why, I don't get this Jesus ending all war that is coming. Because that prophecy easily fails because we're still at war. So there's not wars and rumors of wars. There's actually wars and actual wars. And there have been over 100 since that time, probably more, okay? But you're absolutely right. When you start dealing with the truth and where this stuff comes from, you're going to start unveiling certain connections. And I call it your third eye opening, right? And you start seeing things differently, and it would actually change your life. You see what I mean?
My wife always talks about that.
Yeah.
We tell our children, use your third eye
Yeah.
to see things.
Yeah. That ujjayi.
Don't just use your physical, not only use your physical abilities, but also use your cognitive mind
Absolutely.
to see
Absolutely.
the truth in things.
Interesting word. Cognitive. Yeah. So we're talking about the importance right now, to be honest, that's what we're dealing with. So having order and harmony in a society has always been the best prevention against evil in ancient Kemet. And they also knew that the universe was governed by an order and balance, which would be Ma'at, and that violating the balance invited chaos, destruction, misfortune, and what they call Isfet, of course. But the laws supposed to guide citizens on how to live peacefully and prohibit theft, murder, and adultery, and deceit. But what we're trying to say is that practical government, including principalities or principles actively used by politicians, judges, local officials like the police to settle disputes, should ensure equity and equality, honesty, and fairness in any civilized society. Now, I don't know anybody in their right mind that would not agree with that. Just imagine a society where everyone is on one accord, helping each other, and not just saying they are, but actually doing it, okay? So when it comes to that, we have to deal with the application. How do we apply what they did in these 42 principles of Ma'at today? And what does it actually mean? And the action is actually talking to yourself. When they use the term, I have not committed, I have not committed, what they're doing is actually talking to themselves. Why? Because it's a highly tool that is often overlooked as an effective source of motivation. But when done correctly, with the proper focus, it will actually sharpen your mind and thoughts, and it will accelerate complex problem solving and regulate your emotions. We grew up to see a person that talks to themselves. They're a little bit, crazy and off.
We call into question,
Right.
Are you okay?
Right.
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 That's right.
Right. As for me, I was doing it and benefiting from it before I even knew what I was doing. As far back as I can remember, I would talk to myself when I would be in situations or when I was rehearsing or practicing for certain things. I remember in the military, I'll put that one out here first. I wanted to win what they call the sergeant of the quarter board, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen that study book.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a phone book, the old phone book, right?
It's thick.
and I'm just, walking back and forth, asking myself the questions before I got someone else to come and ask me. And I remember reading it and reciting it. And there's no one in the room, right? And I got so sharp at that, I actually won. And then I went on to Sergeant of the Intel of the Year. went on to that board because I won the sergeant of the quarter board. And I came in second place. I didn't win that one. But I can remember practicing these principles in my 20s, and I had no idea what I was actually doing. But I can tell you as proof, living proof, it is a highly effective tool, and it sharpened my mind. I could actually hear myself in my head when I repeat it out and say it when they were actually the questions at the board. Okay, so it worked. So I want to ask both of you, have you ever done that at all? Talk to yourself, do a rough task?
Yeah. For me,
Yeah.
it's something that I don't know where I got it from, but I will always I told myself, look like, act like, and you'll become.
Mm-hmm.
Look like, act
Yeah.
like, and you'll become.
Yeah.
And there's a way of self-fulfilling the things that you visualize.
Yes, sir.
And it was a mindset.
Yeah.
I think people get more negative
Yeah.
reinforcement
Yes.
than they do positive reinforcement.
Yes.
And it is an internal action.
Yes.
You have to be able to, I love myself.
Mm-hmm.
I am beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I am smart.
And there's affirmations.
You have to do that to counteract some of these things that are in our faces all the time.
Yes, sir.
We don't
Don't let up.
Yeah, I used to tell my kids all the time, you don't have to look hard to find the negative.
Right.
It's right at your door, at your fingertips.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But you have to dig to go get that positive
Yes, sir.
reinforcement. So
Yes, sir.
if it's not something, and I'm only learning from our previous episodes about internalizing,
Mm-hmm.
internal
Mhm.
versus external
Yeah.
reinforcements, or we're
Yeah.
looking outside ourselves
Yeah.
for that positive boost when it could be generated within.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I don't know if you had a chance, but I just recently watched the movie Michael, and one of the things he did,
Mm-hmm.
he spoke over himself.
Yeah.
He spoke positive words of what he was going to be. I
Mhm.
am going to be great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am going to be the greatest musician.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
For me, mine's is a little bit different. For me, I won't say talk to myself, but I always would say to myself, never forget where you came from. And I think that has helped me throughout my life to be relatable.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I can move
Yeah.
on different sides. I don't want
Yeah.
to say the aisle,
Yeah.
but I can go in the hood or go
Yeah.
back home and be okay.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I do.
But I can also go in a meeting and
Hey.
right.
Yeah,
You
that's
get what
right.
I'm saying? And
That's right.
so
You better.
I understand both sides of it. And I think part of that comes from I am the only girl and I am the oldest.
Mm.
And it's a 7-year age difference. So growing up,
Yeah.
I didn't have no older brothers or sisters or anything like that.
Okay.
So I had to get it out the mud.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so learn on my own, walking in the city or going to Catholic school
Mm-hmm.
and having to fight.
Yeah.
So, so understanding that. And so, just being good in your own skin, I think you can't teach that.
Mhm.
It comes with time. And so that's how I would talk to myself, like you got this, you can handle this, and just being relatable. I take pride in that. So
I don't know if you all remember that. And I used to speak in the high schools and stuff.
okay.
And long story short, you remember Monster on online? They were an employment agencies.
Yes, like career builder.
career builder.
Yes.
Well, I had decided that I wanted to take my experience in life and put it on the stage and motivate people by it. I had 3 children that were stillborn, and I had a son born 1 pound. And I still was able to overcome that challenge, which really taught me toughness. I thought I was a pretty tough guy, strong individual. But then when I had this son, this baby that was, 6 inches, I had to really be strong, and just watching the queen and what she was going through with it at the same time. So, but I was able to do that, not skip a beat, and still continue. So I developed this like 2-hour presentation on attitude, positivity, and personal self-affirmations to make you stronger. Well, I saw a monster. They were looking for motivational speakers to travel across the United States and speak at high school, seniors, and colleges.
So you was trying to be the next Les Brown?
Absolutely. Well, Les Brown was actually who I was listening to
What?
to try to get going. But he sounded to me more like a salesman. You know what I mean?
I got you.
And I didn't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was already preaching. I was a pastor. So I knew about, voice deflection and stuff like that. What I didn't know is, positioning in the room, certain tricks, not to turn your back.
That's right.
Certain things like that. And I didn't know how far my natural attributes would take me as far as the sound of my voice and whatever. People had told me some things before, but I didn't really know, right? Anyway, I went up there to Philadelphia. They laughed. My sister said, they said, what you go? I said, I have something to say. And I was motivated by Dennis Rodman, believe it or not. He had took a picture in a wedding dress on the front of a magazine, and they were paying him $10,000 to come and speak at their high schools and college campuses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait 1 minute. I know that I could do at least that. So if he can get 10, I can get $100 an hour. I contacted this company, sent it in. They called me, they said, hey, what we want you to do is send us a video of you speaking something, about 10 minutes. So I had a camcorder and I had a den. And I took two plants, tall plants, and closed the curtain that made a little stage there. And I did 10 minutes of, the attitude and the foundation of it and so forth. And Stephanie recorded it. And I sent it in. And I waited a month, 2 months. They called me back. They said, we narrowed it down to 1,000. And you one of the 1,000 that we narrowed it down to. Will you do a phone interview? So they called me up. I did a phone interview. Waited a couple of weeks. They said we narrowed it down to 500. You still in? I'm like, 500? That's a lot of people, right? Then they said, on the last call, we narrowed it down to 100. And you made it to the final speak-off. And we want you to fly out to Cincinnati for the weekend. What we're going to do, we're going to send you some material to look over. And when you come, be ready to talk about something in the material: attitude, persistence, strength. It has some different things like that. And they sent me a plane ticket, first class. They had a car waiting for me when I got there. And I drove to the hotel, nice hotel. It was a Hilton. And what I found myself there with is news anchors, ex-NFL players, doctors, lawyers. And when I'm asking, what am I doing here, right? How did I get here? Because, I was working at Home Depot. It was such a different thing, I mean, I'm coming from there, to there. But I say that to say, we talk about this speaking to yourself and how much power it has. I spent most of that weekend and night up there speaking to myself, just going back and forth like I was giving a presentation to myself. And every day they were cutting people loose. They did it on Friday. They cut about 25. I'm still there. And I'm like, okay. Then Saturday cut 25. I'm still there. I'm like, okay. And then Sunday, they put up the names of the 10 that they were going to keep to cover Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, and Florida, including Atlanta. I was on that 10. I say that to say that people think talking to yourself doesn't give you power, but this started with an idea I had at a table in my mama's house at around talking with my sisters when I noticed this magazine with him on the front of it. And I like, you know what, if he can do that, then I know I could do it. And I ended up going to Chicago. I went to some other places also, other than that. I've been to every high school in Savannah here, including Hilton Head Preparatory Academy. I learned a lot. But the bottom line is that these things really work when you put these principles to use.
I think it's very important to, have a cognitive and talk to yourself, however you want to put it, because
Yes.
I think what it requires, at least for me, and I always use this word, it requires some self-awareness.
Yes, yes.
And you
yes.
have to, talking to yourself is great, but I also think that you have to see what your shortcomings are, be teachable. Can't be a know-it-all, but it requires a lot of self-awareness. And sometimes people don't want to do that, but you have to be self-aware.
Yeah.
And what works for you, what doesn't, and being able to read the room and things of that nature.
Oh,
But
yeah.
self-awareness is key.
Yeah.
And the older you get, I'll speak for me, I'm on this side of life.
Yeah.
I'm more closer to the sunset.
Yeah.
So, just being self-aware is really, 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 really critical.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So, Dr. Darby, out of these call to action, what are the 3 powerful benefits of it?
Okay, the first one is that word cognitive. See there? Cognitive and focus enhance memory. As you repeat something to yourself, you're going to have a tendency to remember it more. 7 times to be exact, which is what most of the psychologists say. But speaking aloud engages more areas of your brain than just thinking, making it much easier to concentrate on demanding tasks and remember instructions. This is why repetition is key when it comes to learning. Even they teach this in pre-K and kindergarten. Most of them do that in song because it's easy to remember the song, right? And us 3 sitting here at the table still remember some songs as proof of that we've had since a child. So that's the first powerful benefit, cognitive and focus enhanced memory. The second one is emotional regulation, distance, and self-talk. So basically what you're doing is you're taking yourself out of the situation and you're talking as though you're an other entity. So you're talking to yourself outside of yourself, addressing yourself in the second or third person by saying, keep going. I put your name in there. You got this. You can win. It creates a psychological stance that helps you manage your nerves and reduce stress, and it controls impulses to tell you never give up. Excuse me.
No. What jumped in my head just now was cadence.
Yeah.
When you're running.
That's right.
And I've done it.
That's right.
Obviously, I've done it as a platoon sergeant. I did it as a first sergeant. But even as an individual, when I'm doing something physical outside of just myself, I was saying a cadence to myself.
Yeah. Up the hill.
Up the hill.
Down the hill.
Down the hill.
My back.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Gotta go. Feeling good. Like it should.
Yes,
you can do it.
That's it.
You can do it. And I'm concentrating on that, not the pain or the distance.
Absolutely. It works.
I get to the goal.
Yeah.
So that's what I thought about.
That's a good point. Like, we had in Fort Ord, when it was before it closed down, we had a hill called Frankenstein Hill. Those people that were stationed there, they know that. It was about half a mile straight up, like 45 degrees. And it was at the end of the run, But I always, want to pride myself, and I'm not falling out up this daggone hill. And I just made E5 too, man. I was going to be talking big smack. I'll be out there singing. About halfway up that Frankenstein Hill, people would just stop singing. And I'd be by myself just singing out there. But you're absolutely right. That's a good point.
At Fort Knox, for all the listeners, if you ever been to Fort Knox, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Agony, misery, and heartbreak.
Yes.
Those were the 3 hills that would kill privates.
Yes, sir. Yes,
they
sir.
killed drill sergeants.
Yes, sir.
And boy, hey, you talking about digging down, pulling something out of the mud, love? Well, you pulling it. It really showed your character and your tenacity to want to get to the end.
Yeah, you felt like it too.
You never know what you have until you get on them hills.
Well, like it says right here, you literally became your own stress reliever. That's the truth.
Absolutely.
Oh, and the last one is motivation. So self-correction, to Dee's point, and repeating affirmations, asking yourself questions and answering them at the same time. Okay. This helps you talk through difficult interactions and practicing what you want to say that reduces your anxiety and builds confidence. Having self-compassion empowers you to consciously shift to a kinder, more compassionate self-talk that helps quiet your inner critics and foster mindfulness. And I believe that this is the core of the 42 Confessions of Ma'at, because without those being in the initial civilization, it would be kind of hard to create that as effective as they did. And that's basically what they did. They reminded themselves over and over again about what they've done as they went through life, what they've done in the afterlife, and how high they would go in just doing daily tasks. I think if I had to choose the best takeaway, the one I would choose would be talk to yourself, encourage yourself, empower yourself, and don't think that it's something that's strange and you're the only one, because there's many people that do it, but they just don't realize what they're actually practicing. A powerful principle that will empower them for life.
Hey, another great, amazing episode breaking down the negative confessions of Ma'at, or the 42 principles of Ma'at. It gives us a groundwork for our conduct.
Yes.
Ethical conduct.
Yes.
And putting into practical application is the first action. Our call to action will be to begin talking to yourself, loving on yourself, uplifting yourself, because there's a lot of things that's tearing us down.
Yes, sir.
External things that are trying to tear us down. And it begins within us.
And really quick, just to reverse it, we were talking about numerology and numbers. My husband knows I love numbers, right? But 42, I looked it up.
Yeah.
Light refracts at an angle of exactly 42 degrees to form a rainbow.
Wow.
So numbers have meaning just like words have meaning.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And how deep do we go with that? I don't know if you ever looked up your number, your actual number person for that corresponds to.
It's called the sum line.
Yeah.
I have not yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. My daughter, my youngest daughter, she has hers. She's 1111. So she has hers on a necklace. She got it.
Nice.
And she looked up what it meant, and basically was empowering someone that's destined for greatness and strength. How far does that go? I think that's on personal experience. If you do it, see, I look at all these things as tools for humanity. We're living to, just like a lot of people don't look at what I'll use the word zodiac for lack of a better term. I call it universal sign, and most of them that really dismiss it, they never have studied it. Okay. Because I dismissed it myself. In Christianity, that's something that you just didn't do. So I came up dismissing it. But once you look into it, you will be surprised at how everything is relative. So you're not just that one particular sun sign, or what they call your moon, your rising. Okay. You're a combination of all of them. But at the end of the day, you have a house. So if you ever looked at the actual diagram, it's 12 houses, and you have a house. And just like that house, you will reside back to what you are 9 times out of 10. Even though you may show a little bit of the other houses, you will return to the house that you normally are. Now, is it 100% guaranteed science? Nope. But it's a tool. And I studied it enough to actually find some validity in it. You ever look at those, D? You ever look into those? Yeah. Did you find the same thing?
Yes.
Yes.
And really, really quick, the number 42 is famously known as the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything. It is also significant in pop culture, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Look at that. See?
Deep thought as a subcomputer calculated 42. In computer science, ASC2 coding standard, 42 represents anything or the variable.
Wow, amazing.
And Jackie Robinson.
There you go.
He wore 42.
Hey, how about I know.
Right.
That was the name of the movie, wasn't it?
42.
Yeah.
It appears in various contexts, such as 42 generations from Abraham to Jesus in Matthew's genealogy, the 42 principles of it.
Yeah, I did see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I got you.
studied that.
I
I'm
got you.
gonna let him live.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let Matthew live.
Yeah, I got you. I got you.
I appreciate that, man, because see, this is all about learning. It's all about, like you said, we said in the beginning, nobody's gonna know it all anyway. But be open. You know what I mean?
Be open.
Yes.
Be open. Here recently, I've had a discussion with some individuals on Facebook. It's all good because I think it's all about seeing what others think, and I'm in position to be open to someone else's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have all the answers.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that I'm on a road,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the road less traveled.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm heading.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I will ask questions, but all the answers and everything we're gleaning from what we're receiving should put us on the path of the truth.
Mm-hmm.
You can believe whatever you want to believe, but I am of the notion, don't you want to be empowered?
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah.
However that looks.
Yeah.
Don't you want to be empowered? I know I do. That's why I am where I'm at in terms of my spiritual walk and what I'm learning. Don't you want to be empowered?
Mm-hmm.
Do you not want to be in a position where you ask someone a question and it's pretty much because I said so? I don't operate like that.
Wow.
But don't you want to be empowered? And don't you want to operate in truth and be a free thinker? So I would encourage everyone to be a free thinker.
Yes, that's a good point. And be honest with yourself. You know if you're empowered or not. Mm-hmm. Be honest with yourself. You know what you were formerly. Just be honest with yourself. I always look at how people react to adversity. How do they respond to adversity? You flipping out again? Are you treating it like you have power over it and yourself? How are you responding? I spent a whole year watching different people respond to adversity in my family. That's where it starts to me. My first starts with me and then under my roof. And I just was observing, Then I stretched it out to relatives, because I know them my whole life. And same thing I did with the universal signs. And that's how I find these commonalities. And not only does it help you in life, but it helps you communicate with others better too.
Dr. Darby, my love, D. Greenlee. Hey, another great episode.
Yes, sir.
I think we all should be shooting for self-improvement. And each one of these episodes up to now and going forward is helping us be the best version of ourselves, creating that independent, self-sufficient individual that we want to be. Critical thinking is a must nowadays. All the information is out there now. It's at your fingertips, listeners. All you got to do is go seek it. All right. So, listeners, call to action. Go seek the information out. Thanks again, and hey, stay tuned for the next episode.
Peace.
Bye.